Good morning, everybody. This is the first time I'm here visiting the university with a longer period than a couple of days since I landed from Israel. So no jet lag, no reason to complain. I'm really excited about what we're doing here at Pace. And I think if you asked me 2.5, 3 years ago if this is possible, I would probably not envision what we've been able to do until now and what we're going to do moving forward. And I think a big part of the reason we're here and what we're doing are Marvin and Larry that I would say have been very unorthodox in comparison to professionals working in universities in their long-term vision of let's do what wasn't done before. And I think it's very unusual. And when we talk today about universities and university programming, we'll understand how much of a challenge that is, that when you see universities spinning out programs, spinning out activities, they're more or less copying each other, doing what was done before. And it's very clear from the outcomes of the position universities have today in innovation or lack of, as a testament to that lack of innovative spirit in what they're building. So for us, the Pace Entrepreneurship Center is really, let's try to build something that wasn't built. Let's take a much more aggressive approach. Let's take a much more focused approach in merging two worlds into one program. On the one hand, it's the university with the students and the alumni and the faculties and the learning and the capability of building the infrastructure, and a innovative studio-based fund approach to how we look at the opportunities arising from the community around the university. And merging those two worlds brings a totally different value to what we're doing. So this is not a community program. This is not an educational program. This is really a factory with one very simple mission in front of it, which is building successful companies. But let's take a step back and talk a little bit about universities and the role the universities play in what we call the innovation ecosystem. So historically, the main role of universities is divided into two parts. One is training the talent that will be building companies. So if it's a business school, engineering school, the training, the knowledge, the first steps that young folks take as they build their career goes through the university, which means that this is the growing bed of the talents that will continue to build companies all the way to building successful ones. On the flip side, you do have and always had research done in universities that has been productized, commercialized, and turned into successful companies as well. So universities played a duplicate role or two parts of this equation of building the talent and injecting knowledge. But as I look at the world that I operate in, venture capital world, and my main, I would say, criticism on this world is that this world has not evolved enough in comparison with the innovation we see around us. Universities are really late to the game as well. And we're seeing a couple of trends today of what is happening in the innovation ecosystem, who builds successful companies, and the role of universities in this is diminishing. And the reasons for that are basically divided into what is required to build a successful tech company today versus what we needed 20 years ago, and the talent that goes to seek the world of innovation and technological development, where do they actually go? And at the same time, with the speed of innovation, the speed of building companies, the research done in universities is too slow. and built on old structures of IP ownership and complication, which are not a very good fit to the speed that is expected today when you're building a company. To be clear, to be a founder today, and probably people said that 10 years ago and 20 years ago as well, that's fine. But the life of a founder today is an impossible life. In a way, we expect founders to come up with innovative ideas, break the mold, build new things and new ways of leveraging technology to create value. And at the same time, we expect them to almost be perfect on their execution and the speed, because if a company is not raising money every year, then it's not doing well. If a company is not multiplying in 10x and above multipliers of its sales and revenue, the company is not doing well. So we ask founders, do the impossible, and at the same time, the elements in the ecosystem that are supposed to support these founders are ill-equipped to do so, with universities leading the list of the ecosystem powers that should be there, that can be there, and they're not. Now, if you look at the top 10 universities in the world that are successful in producing successful companies, you'll see the usual suspects and two unusual suspects. You will see Stanford, we will see Harvard, we will see MIT, we will see Brown, we will see Tel Aviv University, we will see the Technion. Now, I'm going to say something that is a little bit outrageous, but since I've been involved in many of these universities, have seen firsthand their programming and what they do to support entrepreneurs, it almost has nothing to do with what the university is doing. When you're based in Silicon Valley and Google, Apple, and Facebook are within a 10-minute drive from you, you will probably have better chances of success in building your companies than if you're in a place where you don't have investors and you don't have the right companies and the right professionals to support. I say this not out of disrespect to these universities, because the leading 10 are the only ones we should be looking at. Because if you see the gap in numbers when you move to the next group of universities, it's almost irrelevant in comparison to how many unicorns have come up, have spun out from Stanford or from MIT or from Tel Aviv University. The learning for us is twofold. One, and this is my bias, we have no one to learn from. There's not one university that I would say, let's copy their model because it's a successful model, let's learn from it. But as an Israeli that I am, and thank you, Larry, for saving me from giving you the whole pitch of why I'm old, but the program at Google that I founded was basically joining a company like Google for a role I never got to do. Nobody wanted to build a global face-to-face startup program at Google when I joined. It was almost against the Google religion to come and say, this is what we need to do. I did it for two reasons. One, I've realized that it's missing. And two, I saw the opportunity. And this is exactly what I see here. We have an opportunity to redefine the role of universities as they support their students, alumni, and community around them in building successful companies. Now, in doing that, one, we agreed that there's no model we can copy from, which is great. It means that we have the opportunity to be innovative. But we have to learn from other parts of the innovation ecosystem that are critical. Meaning, if you're building a university program, or you're building a new venture capital firm, or you're building a new incubator, the elements of what founders need are the same. Founders need funding, mentorship, access to business opportunities for First and foremost, validation of what they're doing, and second, in building revenue and growing their companies. Access to talent, and a very effective, I would say, marketing mechanism behind them that people actually know what they're doing, and creates that FOMO around the company that it should be invested in and people should come and work there. And I think the very common mistake in programming is that we look inside the organization we're representing and thinking, what assets do we have? And let's make the most out of them. And I'm sure most of you would agree that that makes sense. But that's a broken way of being innovative and building something new, because if you're building something new, you have to take into consideration that a lot of these assets that you need to be successful are not existent anymore at the moment. Meaning Pace University does not have a fund that invests in startups. So funding has to be built and structured and brought to the table from multiple elements in the ecosystem. In this case, we don't have an engineering school, so we need to think about how do we connect engineers and developers into this system. We also need to work on creating awareness, twofold. One, awareness so people know that this is happening and create enough excitement about what we're doing so people want to join. But on the flip side, awareness of the companies that are already in the program and the milestones that they are able to accomplish as they move forward. To kind of summarize, we are in a time of, I would say, two mega forces happening at the same time. On the one hand, the speed in which somebody can have an idea at home and release a product has never been quicker. The tools, the software, the infrastructure today is amazing. And innovation is happening all around us. And founders need a lot of help, especially today, as they build their companies. At the same time, we are seeing in the last year, and the forecast is at least for another year, year and a half, that the market is going through some financial turbulence, which means that founders will need even more support today to fund their endeavors and push them forward. Third, we see that on the one hand, university programming is not efficient in every university that I've been to. Combine all these three together, I see this as a wake-up call for us, for everybody in the field, to reinvent the role of universities within the innovative ecosystem. Our role is to build the future. The university's role is to develop the talent and at the same time develop research and technology. Let's re-examine, is the structure that was built in universities a decade ago, 2 decades ago, 3 decades ago, still relevant? The answer will probably be no. And how do we address this challenge, and a huge opportunity, by the way, as an entrepreneur? What's the market opportunity? What are the needs? And what is the product I'm developing in order to solve for it? Let go of what was done before. Definitely not look at other examples because they're not there from other universities. It's more of, let's reinvent the wheel and let's think from the eyes of the founder. What do the founders need and how do we build those elements of support? And at the same time, how do we look at it from an investor's perspective? Because definitely any company that goes into PES is an investment. It's an investment of time and energy from the university. So as investors, we have to be very, very focused on who do we bring in, why, and are we able to help? And combining all that in a single, very focused program that can build companies, that can position PACE as a university that is not just driving and supporting innovation, as a university that is innovative in breaking the mold of what everybody's doing and failing, and potentially building here something that would make a difference, that would lead as an example of how this should be done. And this is the spirit that we have around PACE from the beginning with Marvin and Larry when we started thinking about what this could look like. And we're definitely always re-examining what can we do better? How can we scale this further? How can we open up to the New York ecosystem and bring more expertise and more knowledge under the umbrella of PACE of the value that we're building? I'll end with one note. And again, I'm just saying the facts of what I see around. When I started my career a little bit over 2 decades ago, not going to university was not an option. Everybody had to go to university, get a degree, otherwise you're not going to get a job. Getting a bachelor's degree wasn't enough. You needed to have an MBA or a second degree or a master's degree in something. That's how the world worked. Today, Google, Apple, Facebook are hiring kids with development skills that they've learned at home, because today you can become a coder, and a very good coder, very, very quickly, just by working online and getting your training online without a university degree. Universities are no longer a prerequisite to be hired to some of the leading companies in the world. That's a wake-up call. That's a wake-up call that something in the mechanism needs to change, something in our ability to give solutions that are relevant today needs to change. We need to re-examine the role of universities and how universities come back to that position of building the ground roots of the talent, the research, and the capabilities that are driving the innovation ecosystem moving forward. And that's, I think, why we're here, and a lot of work ahead of us. Thank you very much.